Welcome to A View to a Grill. I'm Johnny, and today we're going to do an all artificial intelligence brisket on the Weber kettle using the Barbecue Guru Ultra Q and the Weber Connect. This video is all about if I were to combine the Barbecue Guru Ultra Q, which is a temperature controller, if I combine that with the Weber Connect, which is a smart barbecue assistant, it tells you how to cook anything in its catalog of recipes. We're going to find out if combining the two will actually result in you not having to do anything during the whole cooking process. Now for today's cook, I've already prepared and seasoned my brisket. If you want to know how I do that, on what my process is in preparing a brisket, check out the link above. First, let's set up our artificial intelligence technology. We're going to start off with the Weber Connect. In the Cook's program menu, we'll choose Brisket Packer Cut. And then we're just going to go through the items here and do all the things that they tell us to prepare for the cook. So we're going to set up for the indirect grilling method. Next, we'll trim our brisket, which I've already done. Then we'll season it. And then finally, we're going to plug in the thermometer. And this is probably the most important step of this whole gig, right? You want to put the thermometer in the thickest part of the brisket, and that's going to be the point. If you don't do this right, then this whole brisket cook could potentially fail. Now that we have our Weber Connect set up for the brisket cook, let's go ahead and set up the Barbecue Guru. With the Barbecue Guru, you can monitor the ambient temperature as well as the temperature of your protein. But today I am only using it to monitor the ambient temperature of our pit. And I'm going to set that up to a target temperature of 275 degrees. In the Weber kettle, we're going to make sure that we have enough fuel to last the duration of the cook. Because once we close the lid, we're not going to open it again until it's time to wrap. Now I have about 14 or 16 lit briquettes that I'll pour right into the middle of our setup. And then after that, I'll put on my heat deflector plate. On top of my heat deflector, I'll put in my water pan slash drip pan and fill that up with as much hot water as I can. And then next we'll get our Craycourt cast iron grill grates on, and then our ambient temperature probe from the Barbecue Guru. I'll get the lid closed. Today I'm going to go ahead and bring this up to temp. It is now 8:43 in the morning. Our Weber kettle is up to temp. I'll go ahead and fill up the water pan and then get our brisket on the Weber kettle. We'll get the lid closed and check our app. At this point, our next step is estimated to be 6 hours later, and that's when we're going to wrap our brisket. So we're not even going to open the lid or anything until it's time to wrap the brisket. This thing is just going to ride on its own. Since we're using a water pan, there is plenty of moisture in that environment. As you can see around the edges of the Weber kettle, that water vapor is actually settling onto my grill table. So I'm not worried about moisture. Now I also set up the ambient temperature of the Weber Connect just to kind of monitor it in two different ways. And it allows me to see it all on one panel. At 12:10, we'll check our app. And as you can see, we're right at 275 degrees for the ambient temperature, and the internal temperature of the brisket is at 167 degrees. Now, if you notice on the app, it's still giving us an estimate. It estimates that we have 2 hours left in the cook, and it also estimates that in 25 minutes we're going to need to wrap our brisket. And at this point in the cook, I'm not even at home. I'm actually running to pick up my kid from some school function. And what I noticed was that the Barbecue Guru actually lost its connection, but the Weber Connect stayed connected. Now I'm not sure if this is because I'm running both of them on Wi-Fi at the same time. I'm not sure what's going on, but since I can still see the temperature on the Weber Connect, I'm really not worried about anything that's happening back at the barbecue pit. Now it's 12:21. I made it back home in time for the next step, and that's to wrap the brisket. As you can see here, the Weber Connect gave me an alert to tell me that it's time to wrap the brisket. So now we're just going to glove up and wrap the brisket. Now, before we wrap it, let's take a look at our brisket. The color is really super nice. I like the jiggle, and so far so good. Now I'll go ahead and add that extra moisture, finish wrapping it, and get it back in the pit. Now I did have to adjust the meat probe so that it can go in from the outside of the foil. I did put the thermometer back where it was before. Once that's in the pit and the lid is closed, we're not going to touch it again until it's time to take it off the grill. Now, while that's on the grill, let's go ahead and take a look at our next step according to the Weber Connect. So the Weber Connect really emphasizes not to skip the resting step. So we're gonna let this brisket rest for 3 to 4 hours, just like it suggests. So while I was reading over the next step, I noticed that the main unit of the Weber Connect switched to a countdown phase in minutes, no longer hours, and we're getting closer to this brisket being done. And at this point, I also want to mention that the Barbecue Guru has worked flawlessly this entire time. The temperature has not adjusted more than 5 degrees outside of its 275 degree window. Plus or minus 5 degrees, it's been steady as a rock. And then at 147, our estimated time has reduced all the way down to 9 minutes. And then at 158, we get our alert saying that the brisket is now done. So according to the Weber Connect, 203 degrees is the perfect time to take your brisket off the pit. And for whatever reason, I decided to double check that internal temperature, and I got out my ThermoPen 1 and double checked the temperature. And it was right on. The ThermoPen also said that we're at 203 degrees. Now, remember earlier, the Weber Connect suggested that you rest your brisket in an insulated cooler. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna get this out of the pit, put it in my chill chest, and let it rest there for the next 3 to 4 hours. I'm also going to leave the thermometer in just because I like to see what the temperature variances are going to be while it's resting. Now, 3 to 4 hours later, it's time to see what we got. So as I'm taking this out, look at that bend on it just as it's coming out of the foil. So that's a good sign that tells you your brisket is going to be tender. And as always, this is my favorite bite of the brisket. The tip of the flat with all of that bark on it. And there's only one of these bites. So I smoke the brisket, I get that one bite. So the brisket came out really good. We'll take a look at the money shot, and as you can see, it is a juicy, tender brisket. Now the smoke ring really is only decent, and that may have something to do with no spritzing, but overall, very tasty brisket. Now, that's what I'm saying, but what does an unbiased teenager have to say about it? How's it taste?
Awkward.
There you go. Teenager approved. Now, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching A View to a Grill. I'll see you guys next time. Take care, y'all.